The weather is perfect. It's homecoming. There's a 10-year reunion for the national champs going on, and it feels like forever since we've been back for a Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems weekend kickoff for an Ohio State home game, but we've got it right now. Ohio State and Nebraska, Saturday, noon in the Horseshoe. A long 2 weeks for some ticked off, to put it mildly, Buckeyes trying to get back out there and get back in the win column. We have Michael Bennett. He's got the rings on. He's ready for the whole weekend. We have Zach Boren.
Where are your rings?
He's ready. He's ready for war. He's got the camouflage on. And you know him. That's Jeremy Birmingham.
I'm also ready for that.
You have an Apple Watch on. And
Yeah.
I am Austin Ward, and I have a beer because I'm ready for the weekend.
There we go.
Mike, how's the celebration going on?
It's been good. We had a little event at Urban Meyer's Pint House. Got to see some of the old faces. It's been fun. It's going to be a busy weekend.
Yeah.
Did Urban Meyer remember who you were?
Can you believe it? He did. I think, he just kind of looked at me for a while
Yeah.
and smiled. So I said, Michael Bennett.
And then he went and asked somebody, hey, who's that guy over there? He looks familiar.
I've seen that in person.
You know the look.
Yes. He did that with a lot of recruits.
I mean, you two are captains, so it should be easier, right? You can't remember the captains?
It's my guy, man.
Okay.
Yeah, he knows.
Okay. All right. It was
But,
fun?
yeah.
Well, you sharing some memories? What are you doing out there?
It was a good time, just shake hands, talk to people, take some pictures, sign some autographs. They actually tried to co-opt what you guys were doing. They had started having people on stage and started talking about stuff. I said, no, I have to leave. I'm out of here. I got to go.
I got to go do the real deal.
Yeah, so then I went and jumped in my car and came here.
Yeah, they know how to set that up over there because we taught them. But guess what? We're at Fairway Columbus now, which is an upgrade for us. Zach, the last 2 weeks, are you feeling better yet?
No.
I mean, okay.
No.
Let us know.
What's it going to
Tell
take?
us.
What's it going to take for you to feel better?
Saturday.
Okay.
I mean, I need to see, plays ran. I need to see execution. I need to see the Buckeyes winning. Like, I kind of feel like Berm today walking in here.
Negative juice?
Some people call it negative. Berm calls it being a realist.
Okay. You're not feeling it? You're going to be ready. Come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna be ready. I just think there's
Let's get to it. What's the biggest? What's
normally,
the biggest lingering
listen,
hangover
you
part of
guys
it?
can say this, and I will admit it. There's a lot of times I am overly optimistic, right? Do I know what goes on behind the scenes at the Woody? Yes. Have I lived it? Yes. But is there still a part of me that might take things to the extreme because of the huge fan that I am? Yes, and blow things up. You get to a point, though, and it's hard to put it into words because after that Oregon game, you kind of get a dose of reality, And Mike, we've been a part of the locker room after a defeat, and being a part of the locker room, like, you kind of know what's going on and you can make a change. The hard part is the things that we are failing to see this Ohio State make improvements on are the same things that we have been talking about and going crazy for years now. And I've had some texts this week with some people close to the program, and like it keeps on coming back to, what's the definition of insanity?
I believe it's doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Correct. And I think that's where we're at. And that's where it's like a part of me wants to see if there truly is change.
Are you telling these people to not be optimistic that this weekend is going to be more of the same? Because if that's how it feels, and if that's the case, you can get out.
No. I think, Austin asked me how I feel. I don't think I will change the way I feel until I see some change on Saturday. I think there's going to be change.
But that's not true, because if it happens on Saturday, you still won't believe it unless it happens against Penn State.
Yep.
That's true.
See,
yeah,
you're lying to these people.
That's true. You're right.
No, Zach doesn't lie.
No.
How about some optimism from Burr?
I want optimism. After the Week 2 loss in 2014, which apparently you guys are celebrating a national championship this week, right? Yep. 10 years. You guys lost to...
Completely different.
Why?
Completely different.
You guys lost to Virginia Tech.
Completely different.
A team that you shouldn't have lost to at home.
Completely different.
A number of people, you're heading into that. You have the third-string quarterback in people's minds in JT Barrett, who nobody really knew anything about at that point.
Mike, can I answer this for you, please?
What did you guys do? How important was it to lose in the season and not like the last game of the season?
I'll give Zach the first shot at this.
Please. That one hit close to home, right? Because my little brother was playing, and I was still super into the program. I had just gotten out of it. And so obviously when that happens, what do? Call my little brother, and the next day I actually had dinner with him, and I'm like, what the hell happened? Virginia Tech jumped into a Bear defense, which is the first time Ohio State had even went against a Bear defense. Didn't even think like it was a possibility because Virginia Tech never even showed it. But of course, the masterminds at Virginia Tech, and I'm totally forgetting his name, defensive guru that was there. Bud Foster. There you go. Bud Foster threw a package at Ohio State that they had never seen before, never practiced before. Like they never even went up in camp. And so during the game, you're trying to make adjustments, but you don't even know what to check to, right? So that's completely different than us.
But they lost a game and then had to bounce back and win a national championship.
Berm, it's completely different how you lose the game. Right. Losing a game going against something they've never seen before
compared to at home to a bad Virginia Tech team is certainly different than losing on the road to the number 1 team in the country by a point.
We are certainly off to a wonderful start.
This is how it should feel after the
weekend is kicked off.
Listen,
this is how it should feel.
We can bring up Oregon. We can bring up Michigan last year, Missouri last year. We can bring up bring up Michigan in 22, Georgia in 22, Oregon in 21.
No, see, we can't have
Michigan
it both
in
ways.
21.
As Ohio State fans or whatever, you can't have it both ways. Either Michigan cheated or Ohio State stunk, right? So which one was it?
Well, guess what? Ohio State stunk, in my opinion. Even if they cheat, you still beat them.
Both of those things can be true.
They can be true.
But I don't think they are.
No, and this is why, because they lost the game the same way they continue to lose the game. The inability to play good defense and finish it in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. That's what I struggle with.
I'll say this. I think the Oregon game was particularly frustrating because specifically it was a big game. Like, we've been waiting for Ohio State to get over that hump and start winning those big games. Like, yeah, if we had lost to Virginia Tech this year, I'm sure people would be upset. Everybody would be pointing fingers and all that kind of stuff. It'd be a great catalyst to look in the mirror and say you aren't as special as you thought you were. The Oregon loss, it could be used for that. People could look at it. They could go back into the locker room and say, all right, everybody's been gassing us up. Everybody's been saying that we're untouchable. You've been touched. Like, this is now you can bleed. So what are we going to do about it? Are we going to go in with more of a chip on our shoulder? All that kind of stuff. But it's also because Oregon's a good team, because you flew all the way across the country.
It's only a little bit past Lincoln.
As Ryan Day said, 2 hours past Nebraska on a plane.
Something like that, right? So, but like, you can give yourself excuses. You can make yourself be like, it was middle of the season, or early middle of the season. We'll get them again. And so it really just depends on how they respond to this. I personally, I see what you're saying, Zach, but that defense, it was hard to watch, but it's not the worst I've seen from them. It really felt like we got exploited on a couple big plays.
No, correct, but I was at the Michigan game last year in 23. Ohio State scored. All they had to do, there were 9 minutes and some odd change left on the clock. All Ohio State had to do, make a stop and get off the field. Yeah. And they win that game. And they failed to do that and get off the field. What happened 2 Saturdays ago against Oregon? All Ohio State's defense had to do was at some point get off the field in the second half, and they couldn't do so. Talk about Georgia in 22. What couldn't they do? Get off the field. All they had to do was make one stop, and they couldn't.
You're running on problems. I want to hear solutions.
Listen,
do you want me to tell them my solution?
Tap in. Yeah, solution.
What's the solution that I've said week after week?
Get after the quarterback.
No, break their spirit.
Break the spirit.
How do you do that? How do you do that by
violence? What do you mean violence? It's football. But you have to hit people hard.
What part of the defense is most responsible for that violence and breaking?
All of them. That's why they're the silver bullets, not the 7
you want to know what it is? This is how you explosive plays, and that's on defense and offense, right? Offense, I think we have the explosive plays. Defense, it's missing, and that's the issue. It's where are the explosive plays? And what I mean by explosive plays is sack, turnovers. Like, you think of those last big games, the 3 games I just talked about. Where is that turnover in the second half? Where are those big sacks in the second half? They're nowhere to be found.
When was how many sack fumbles? I'd love to see the sack fumble numbers because I know
last one was Chase Young, I think.
No, I think they had 2 against Marshall.
I was about to say, I know they had sacks against Marshall.
They did, I know.
But I felt like that was so highlighted when I was there, and for probably the years after I was there as well. But you don't see that as much, and it's one thing to get after the quarterback. But I agree, the turnovers change the game. It's that's always one of the biggest things that you look at the end of a game is turnovers. If you win the turnover battle, generally you win the game.
All of the key markers that you normally have to win a game, like rushing yards, turnovers. Ohio State lost against Oregon, but they're playing Nebraska this weekend.
That's true.
So let's move past.
Well, I hope everyone cares. Mike.
Everyone cares. We all care.
And
Nebraska's not what we're worried about. We've got Penn State. We have
you have to-
Indiana.
You
Indiana's
have to
not
take
a
care
joke.
of Nebraska.
Here's the thing though, Mike. Let me ask you a question. If I were to tell you before they played Oregon, they're going to score 31 points, would you tell me they're going to win or lose?
I mean, based on the defense this year, they were going to win by a lot.
For sure. I would have said they would have won by double digits.
If I would have told you before the season began, Ohio State was going to lose one game in the regular season, which nearly everyone assumed they would, and I said to you,
I didn't. Go look at the tapes. I said they were going to Phoenix.
It's going to be likely at Oregon. How would you respond?
That's not good.
I didn't think there was any way.
I'd rather slip up against a bad team.
100%.
That's because you played for Urban Meyer.
No, 100%.
What does that mean?
I agree with Mike. I thought you were going to see a trap game somewhere. I didn't think there was any way they were going to lose 3 games: Oregon, Penn State, or Michigan. Going into the year, I was like, there's no way those 3 games they're going to lose. I thought maybe there could have been a trap game somewhere. If they were going to lose a game, I didn't think that, because those 3 games with this team and how much talent and how much people were saying how great this team can be.
And how much they have to prove.
Correct. This team, when you have a veteran team like that, guess what? Those big games, they're going to come out to play, and they're going to be ready.
Solutions. What are they?
I think he's talking about coming out with more energy, is what I heard.
Juice?
Yeah, you need energy. You need juice.
Does Mecca
you need more explosive plays.
Change things for you?
I genuinely think it's a mental thing. I think this team has the pieces. I think they might need to make some adjustments on defense. I don't know what the heck was going on. Like, I get that Burke had a tough game. Give him some safety help. Give him something. Blitz more so that you're not
maybe put some pressure on the quarterback, Mike.
You know what I'm saying? So those are.
Yeah.
I'd have to break the game down to really see what the defense has to do. But definitely pressure on the quarterback. Definitely rotating safeties. But other than that, I'm a big proponent that the mental aspect of football drives the wins and the losses, especially when you have 2 really talented teams like Ohio State and Oregon.
Well, it goes back to, we even bring up explosive plays on defense, and obviously I was getting at the sacks, but even the turnovers, I would love to know the stat now that we're sitting here. Like, Oregon this year, Michigan last year, Michigan and Georgia in 22, those are basically like the last really big 4 games. I mean, even Notre Dame, like, were there any second half turnovers or even turnovers in any of those games?
Well, they didn't get any. They didn't force any stops in the fourth quarter of those games.
Even second half or even turnovers in general. I don't remember any turnovers against Notre Dame those 2 years. Michigan the last 3 years or 2 years in 22 and 23. Georgia, I don't remember any turnovers
for the entirety of the game.
Yeah,
against Georgia, Steel Chambers had an interception. That was pretty pivotal there. The defense played a pretty good game against Georgia. The issue
when they let up 45.
Well, it came in the fourth quarter.
42.
Things got out of hand there, out of whack.
Yeah.
That's the way football is now. 42 points.
If you have a bad defense.
I think Zach's point.
Did Georgia have a bad defense?
But I don't
in
in those
41?
games and like the big games we're talking about, I don't remember any like explosive defensive plays.
Yeah, and they were close to them against Michigan, and the fact they didn't make them. You had the Malik Hartford play and Denzel Burke, where it looked like that was probably an interception.
Almost hit him in the chest.
That was the one that got away. Those are the plays that you have to make. I think that's why so much of the conversation in the offseason from Ryan Day, Zach, was like about the leave no doubt, knock them out, because they didn't want it to have to come down to the 1 or 2 plays that they were not making in the biggest games. They are the more talented team. They were more talented than Michigan. They were more talented than Oregon. They were way more talented than Missouri. Yeah, Georgia was obviously that was a slugfest.
We're not really counting the Missouri game for anything, are we?
Well, it goes in the same bucket for inability. Well, 14-3, I don't know. That was more of an offense.
That's completely
we can
different.
throw that one out.
Yeah.
So don't count that one. But some of the issues still popped up in the key situation and letting them run the football in Missouri to get the win there. It's neither here nor there. I think that's
the defense had been on the field for
113
minutes.
Fine. But they didn't win a big game. It's not as important as Georgia or Michigan. No one will dispute that part. But they were scoring enough points, especially in the Peach Bowl against Georgia. And in some respects, the games against Michigan too, Zach, the offense did enough for them to win those games.
That's why it's been frustrating. It's because for 5 years now,
the offense has done more than enough.
Except for last year.
Well, except for the Missouri game, right? Even last year against Michigan, they put up 27 points. Like,
that's
putting up
in this era,
27, 24, whatever it is. Hey, listen, if you were to say when we were playing defense, give us 27, like, all right.
Yeah. But it's I think it's
Right?
a different era.
No.
I know a very smart person who just said that a few moments ago.
That can't be
You
right.
looked at him like you looked at him like he was crazy.
Listen, I get it's a different era. Throw that out, and I also hate the people that make the comparison that like Urban blew out top teams. Like that's not true. Did Urban win a lot of those games? Yes,
We blew out Wisconsin and Oregon.
I get that, but don't people
You know
don't.
what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
But people make it sound like Urban blew out all those games and won every single one of those games. Not true. Love Urban to death, but not true. It's to kind of get over. What do they call it? It's like
The hump.
Yeah,
Your
the hump.
lovely
Yeah, it's
lady
like
lumps. Check it out.
when a guy's in a bad hitting streak, it's like
slump buster.
Slump buster.
Missionary.
That's what I was looking for. It's like they need a slump buster, but that slump buster has to come from the
No.
defense.
But because
That's what it is.
when they get a slump buster, like beating a top 7 ranked Penn State team every year, or beating a top, no one cares.
That's not
Penn
a slump
State
buster.
puts up
Penn
3
State's not a
points of offense.
I don't. Penn State
You can't have it.
We're
both
talking
ways.
about Penn State. Come on. Listen, I love that Penn State. Every time we go into that game, that they're ranked high. Come on. What are we talking about? It's Penn State.
There's a reason why Ohio State
I'm not going to
didn't
say that
want Drew
to
Aller.
some like SEC fans, but if we lose to Penn State, what are we doing? That's a bad year. When was the last time we lost to Penn State?
2016.
I wasn't there.
Let's get. I'm really scared
Blocked
about
field
what's
goal.
about to happen
Return
because
for a touchdown.
Disgusting. It was disgusting. It felt bad, didn't it? It felt dirty.
it wasn't right.
Yeah, because that Penn State team stunk and they weren't ranked.
Berm, do you agree with
Or
anything
they're
we
like
say?
23rd. No, because you're being like an emotional mess.
Usually that's your job.
I'm not sure. Like,
Give me a solution.
I know you just had a child. In
Give
the
me a
last few months,
solution.
but I feel like you probably haven't caught up on sleep yet because
I
you
haven't.
seem exceptionally
I know.
cantankerous.
I know.
That's
And
good
you, I figured you'd be full of good news and tidings
I've
and
been,
joy
I've
after
been fighting the energy that's coming from that side of the table.
spending the evening.
Give us a
Urban.
solution.
He's overwhelmed. He's going to make an adjustment. But this is why I'm terrified, because all of this has happened, and now it's time for the Bryant Heating and Cooling System's hottest takes.
Oh, boy.
So
You know, they,
I thought we were going to bring down the temperature.
I don't
a
know
little bit.
how. Who scheduled this show? What a bad idea. Byrne, why don't you start?
We want solutions,
Berm,
Berm.
let me start, Berm.
please do,
Let me start.
because
I think the hot take. I think this team's going to win the national championship.
Okay.
That's my hot take. I don't
We're
think
back
they're a
on
bad
track.
team. I think they're still a strong team. I think they lost to a good Oregon team away from home in the middle of the season. I think you could watch that game and you could see Oregon had more energy. Whether that's a mental thing or it's literally just the travel time. I've played those travel games. They suck. I think this is still a strong team. I think they were exposed, and that is a wonderful time to be exposed. So they've had 2 weeks to be upset and to let that rage build. It's unfortunate that they are going to release it on Nebraska, but I think
Unfortunate
they
for
still,
Nebraska.
That's what I'm saying. I think, unfortunate for us that we didn't have another big game
Sure.
following it up.
Gotcha.
I think that this team is still poised and still capable of doing great things this season. It was a momentary blip in the road. We're going to be all right.
Okay.
I think you have to look at it and realize that, getting that week off when you're trying to replace your starting left tackle, when you're trying to replace
Who played very well.
Yeah, Zenoholski played pretty good against Oregon.
Yeah.
But, like, I understand from the player's perspective, you're like, man, we want to get right back out there. But I think in this specific instance, it actually plays into Ohio State's favor that they got a chance to reset and figure out, like, hey, is Zen the guy for sure? You're trying to replace Will Kazmarek at tight end now that he's out for a while. There's a fairly good chance we're not going to see Lathan Ransom for a couple weeks, I would imagine. So you actually probably got it lucky in getting this, not having to go right back at it against Penn State this weekend because, A, the travel, B, you're beat up. I mean, these types of physical games change things. But the bigger point is that Ohio State fans are so passionate about this team and the program that when you lose a game like that, it hurts like hell and everyone's panicked. But the national reaction to Ohio State losing against Oregon has been basically nothing.
Yeah.
No one was like, "Oh my gosh, Ohio State's a fraud." Like it's like, yeah, that's what the Big Ten is supposed to look like. When Alabama and Georgia go back and forth, and one year Georgia gives up a late touchdown to win, and next year Alabama does, people are like these are the best teams in the country. And in the past handful of years, when that happens in the Big Ten, they're like, well, Ohio State either sucked or the rest of the Big Ten sucked. And I think it's actually really positive as a whole that people can look at this Ohio State-Oregon game and go, those might be the two best teams in the whole country. And everyone knows they're going to play again. Ohio State's going to.
Are they?
I think they will play again. I mean, that's not a hot take. We've talked
Unless
about it
Indiana starts doing something special.
Ohio State has to play Indiana. So if the Buckeyes handle their business, they will play Oregon
If the
again.
Buckeyes handle their business.
So I look at it and say, a hot take is that, Ohio State should still win the national championship. They are still the most talented team in the country.
Yep.
Now, if we're talking about a hot take for this weekend against Nebraska.
No, you're just saying. He's just saying in general.
Hot take.
I think in Columbus,
It can
that
be
would be
this
a hot take
weekend.
right
It can
now.
be.
The hot take was to be rational.
That's how it feels
It
right
is
now.
very
doesn't it?
unusual for me to be rational. I said it on our Friday morning bold prediction show, which obviously hasn't aired yet because it's still Thursday. I think that this weekend starts the Jeremiah Smith for Heisman campaign.
Ooh,
Um,
spicy.
And I think
Can you do it? Do you think he can do it with Will Howard at quarterback?
that Will Howard is a Heisman finalist by the time the season ends as well. So
Hey,
It's a
I'm
hot take.
spicy over here.
It's a good
I
take.
can get real spicy on people who don't think Will Howard is a good
yeah,
quarterback.
I think they're both.
I mean,
I
Will
think-
Howard. I think of every player in Oregon that suited up for the Scarlet and Gray. Will Howard was the best player that Saturday.
if you don't leave that game against Oregon feeling like exceptionally confident in Will Howard moving forward, I don't know what to tell you. Like I don't know what you expect out of
You
him
have problems.
because he did.
He's talking to you.
You have problems.
We'll get into that part too.
Oh.
But no, I think Jeremiah Smith is going to have like a national coming. I mean, everyone's been watching him and being amazed every week, but this weekend he will end up passing Ohio State and becoming the Ohio State all-time freshman leader in touchdowns, yards, and catches in a season this weekend.
Is he having 3 touchdowns?
I predicted on bold predictions. This is a sneak peek. 4. I think he's going to get 3 through the air and 1 rushing.
Because he needs 2
He needs
to
2.
tie.
He needs 2. He needs 10 catches, and he needs I think 103 yards or
I
something.
thought he only needed 1 to tie and 2 to take the lead.
Oh, I thought 2 to
'Cause
tie. And
he's-
1. I don't know.
He's scored a touchdown in
It's
every
been
single
2.
game.
It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I've been in a dark hole, so my info isn't always correct.
I can tell. This is the darkest period I think that I've ever
Yeah.
seen from you, Zach, and I'm
like the
concerned.
camo had me wondering when you walked in,
He
and
was ready for war.
now I think he's actually
I've
been
been-
living in the woods.
He's got some apocalypse now going on over here.
I was just about to say I've been in a bunker for 2
I'm
weeks.
actually surprised that you washed the face paint off before we started this.
I did. My wife made me shower for the
Yeah.
first time.
Good idea.
No.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah.
All right. I'm scared. Should I go now? Do you just want to close out the segment?
You can go. I think you know what my hot
Are you
takes
just going to
gonna
say
entail,
Ohio
but
State
go
shouldn't
ahead.
show up on Saturday?
No, they should.
Okay. Good.
There was a thought in my head today that maybe we're headed to the Pop-Tart Bowl in Orlando.
Kyle
but-
McCord just threw a pick
Yeah.
6 on Syracuse's first drive. of the
Yes.
game.
Well, Berm, this show is not going to be on the internet until Friday.
I know, but I'm just
this
telling
is
you.
Thursday night.
So,
It's weekend
remember earlier
kickoff.
when we were talking about this game and you were like, Kyle McCord's going to throw for 300 some yards, and I said, and 2 pick 6s?
Got one of them.
There was one.
I didn't disagree with that notion. We don't have to talk about
I'm just saying,
Syracuse's
I
quarterback.
think it's fun to let people in to our private conversations.
Okay.
Remind me
I'm
not
glad-
to tell anything.
What's your
Yeah,
hot
keep
take?
confirm anything.
keep
yeah.
it
I
secret.
thought Austin was going.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear it from him. I want to hear from you.
I guess I'm not in.
Go.
I don't have one now.
See? Told you.
You don't have
want
one?
me to go? Yeah, I have plenty of hot takes.
Okay.
I believe strongly that the next 6 weeks are going to tell the tale for Ryan Day's career. That he has so much at stake, and I'm not saying that he's in danger of jeopardizing his career. I think that he's going to take the steps needed to get Ohio State where it needs to go. And this 2-week stretch, whether that's personnel, whether that's scheme, whether that's coaching staff alignment, whatever that is, whether that's being aggressive in games, whatever. I've spent the previous 10 months looking at the moves that he made in the offseason and saying this is a Ryan Day who understands what is in front of him. And now there's a different level of urgency that has to exist. Berm and I were also sitting in a hotel in Oregon 2 weeks ago, and
See? Private
and
conversation.
I said, it's laughable to me that there are people who think that he is feeling too much pressure, that he is different, that he's changed mentally, that he's not competitive enough to get through this stretch. That's not the Ryan Day that I've come to know. You and I and Zach have all had plenty of opportunity to be around him. I can't imagine a world where he's not going to take the steps, starting on Saturday and against Nebraska to get Ohio State where it has to go. But
that's why.
But at the end of the day, it's not even that hot to me, but it is every decision that is made is on him. And the entire legacy for him is going to be riding on the next 6 games.
That's why I wanted to ask, do you think there's a difference between getting the opportunity to correct things in the middle of the season as opposed to having to deal with it through a long off season makes a difference for, what you guys
I don't
dealt
think you're
with.
really.
So
I don't think you're really.
compare to me the end of 2013 where you guys were undefeated and you lose your last 2 games and everyone has to sit on it for an entire offseason versus the week
They won the
after.
national championship next year.
That's why.
But the
harp
week
on it.
after, they won the national championship, but still went out in week 2 and lost to a bad Virginia Tech.
That's why I harp on it so much, and I know you guys I won't say you don't take it seriously. The mental component of the players drives all of it. You can do the schemes, you got to do the recruiting, you can do the coaching. If the players don't have a chip on their shoulder, if the players aren't individually across the board on both sides of the ball and on special teams trying to make sure that other person that they're playing understands that they aren't as good as them. If they are just going out there to play football, they're not going to be successful in big games. You have to have a chip. You have to have anger. You have to have love for the guy playing next to you. And I think that was the biggest difference from 2013 to 2014. Yeah. We lost to Michigan State because we were looking at Alabama. Yeah. We thought, all right, Michigan State, they might be good. We'll beat them, and then we're going to go to the national championship. And then they gave us a hell of a game. That the next year, when we lined up against Wisconsin, we said we were going to break them. From start to finish, there's going to be no doubt. There's going to be no question. I don't care if we make it to the playoffs. Wisconsin is going to understand they should not have walked out on that field. And if they don't, I think that is the single most important thing that you bring to a big game is that mentality.
That Centerville Elk mentality.
Yeah. It is what it
Mike,
is.
Mike,
it wasn't just me out there with that mentality.
Mike, you and I could not be more aligned in that. And I think that is something this team has been struggling with the past couple of years. I know this, and I talked to this with some of my former teammates when the following day after it happened. If one of my teammates got spit on, like IGB did that Saturday, I swear to God, that entire offense would have been hearing it till that game ended. Yeah. And guess what? They would have been getting MF'd, and we would have been in their ear and down their throats until the end of that game. What happens? There's no one even around IGB. He gets spit on, and it's just like, we're moving on to the next play. Like, are you kidding me?
And multiple fouls is what he meant.
Yeah,
there would be multiple fouls the rest of the game.
I mean,
I get the composure point.
Oh my God! No, but it's not a composure point. Like,
I don't think anyone knew.
Hold on, you're telling me you don't. You're telling me you don't.
I'm just saying,
if they didn't know then, you're telling me IGB doesn't talk coming off the field. Like, hey, bro, what happened to you?
Why were you over the sideline? Happen. They were like, "What in the world's going on?"
You notice a lot of things on. You notice a lot of things on the field.
I was from here to there, and I didn't see it.
You could have told me 4 plays later, and then it's still on site the next play.
Oh, it's still. Oh my God, it's still going down from that standpoint.
So like, remind me not to get spit on around Berm. He'll make some jokes or something instead of
this is why I'm constantly on my own.
Hey, listen, I know there's a lot of people that don't like the trash talking and stuff, but there's a chip about playing football. Like,
it's what it is.
It is what it is, right? And that's something that this team, it's that edginess that all great teams have, and it's the edginess that they can be talking trash to the other team and telling them, guess what? I'm not stopping. I'm coming at you. In the very next play, be going after one of their own teammates because they're holding him accountable for not doing something or not doing his 1/11th on the field.
To your point, Zach, so this is something that I've felt since Ryan Day took over. I think Ryan Day's teams are incredibly composed. I think they're incredibly professional. I think they go about their business, and I think that is one of their best strengths and also one of their greatest weaknesses. I think one of the things that made Urban Meyer teams what they were was he was skating that line of being out of control and being in control. You had guys who were getting in fights at practice, guys who were fighting coaches, guys who were fighting on the field. I mean, how many times did we get a guy kicked out of a game? Like, it was he knew how
pretty famously in the Big House.
Yeah. So like he knew how to kind of ride that line. And obviously, I think that's kind of what ends up making his career a little shorter at Ohio State, and why Ryan Day is going to have a lot of longevity. But that also is what makes it harder to win those big games when you need a couple crazy people and you need to foster a couple crazy people.
Shankability. You got to have some wild cards.
For sure. You have to have it.
What's your hot take?
All right, my hot take.
I'm glad I got mine out of the way before Zach just tramples
correct.
all over it.
Mike and I are very aligned. Not aligned on Will Howard, but we are very aligned with that.
That's okay. That's fine.
We'll talk about that off the air.
Yeah. So my hot take is, you guys know this, and I think a lot of people do as well that listen to us. I love Ryan Day. I am the biggest fan of Ryan Day, and I have backed him up for multiple years, right? And went to battle for him when everyone's saying he can't win the big game, he needs to be fired, this and that. I would take Ryan Day even now, right now, today, than I would over any other college football coach. And you guys know how highly I think of Kirby Smart. I think he's a great football coach. I would take Ryan Day over Kirby Smart to this day. So the people that think he needs to be fired, crazy. But here's my hot take. Austin already brought up the next 6 games might dictate Ryan Day's career here at Ohio State. I listened to his press conference on Tuesday, and he talked about there's scheme, there's personnel, and there's coaching, right? And he said, I know we have the personnel. There's an issue with scheme and obviously coaching, and so we're going to hold ourselves accountable, and that's Ryan Day being the guy he is, that he's going to put the blame on himself. I'm going to take it a step further because I think he's wrong when it comes to that. I think the next six games for sure are going to dictate his career, but I think there's a personnel issue. And I think if Ryan Day does not step in, especially on the defensive line, and make some personnel changes because the current coach is not going to make those, if Ryan Day does not do that, it is going to cost them the season, which in turn could cost Ryan Day, I'm not going to say his job, but the way he's viewed in a national perception, right?
But maybe his job.
Maybe his job. Very well could be. Depends on what game it is.
If not immediately, ultimately.
Ultimately, correct. When it comes to the personnel change that I'm saying in general, Caden Curry has to see the field more. In my opinion, he's the best defensive end we have. He's the most edgiest player we have, so it's funny you bring that up because that's where I was going with my hot take.
He brings the shankability.
Caden Curry is John Simon 2.0.
Yeah.
That's who he is. Caden Curry is John Simon. He's an undersized guy, but his motor does not stop. He can be strong at the point when he needs to. He's got the quickness. He can do all of those things. Why you have him on the inside, and Mike, you played with John, I played with John. Vrabes and Fick would never, ever in a million years have John Simon lined up over the center or guard and say, hey, listen, on third down when we're trying to get after the quarterback. Put John Simon on the edge and let him control and dominate the offense tackle. We're putting Caden Curry on the inside when you have Jack Sawyer and JTT, who are not even going to be defensive ends in the NFL. They are going to be 5 techniques in a 3-4 defense. Let them go up against the guards. They're tall. They're big dudes. They weigh 260.
Jack's 100% should be rushing.
100%. Jack, go on the inside. Put Caden Curry on the outside and let him get after the quarterback. If that personnel change is not made, now I agree with Ryan. We have the personnel. We're just not playing them, right? So guess what? If you really want to make a change, Ryan, it's on you to make the change at the defensive line position, and Caden Curry has to see more playing time.
So is it your hot take then that happens this weekend?
No, he's just saying that it has to.
No, I'm saying it has to, and I'm actually worried it doesn't happen. That's where.
I'm worried about you.
Thank you.
I've never seen this before. Like
Zach, I like the passion. I like the passion.
I'm so concerned.
The man cares, and we're gonna let
blood pressure.
I care. Thank you. That's why I got bags under my eyes. You know,
we're gonna let Zach take a deep breath. We're all gonna take a deep breath. This has been the first half of Weekend Kickoff. It is brought to you by Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems. We're at Fairway Columbus. We're going to come back. There's going to be a second half. I don't know what it's going to be like, but stay tuned.
Precision engineering. Rigorous attention to detail. A Bryant Evolution heating system is so well designed, it's as much of a joy to install as it is to use.
Good to go.
For the dealer nearest you, visit Bryant.com.
All right, the second half starts now. It is Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems Weekend Kickoff. There is a game against Nebraska.
There is.
We don't have to keep talking about Oregon. We can talk about something else, maybe.
Yeah, I think we could talk about the future, right?
Let's do that.
Let's look forward.
Look forward.
Yeah.
There's only forward.
That's only forward.
There
That's
is
why
no
they
going
make
back.
that's why they make the rear view so small, right? And the windshield's so big.
Look at this
Damn.
guy. You writing poetry now?
That's poetic.
I stole that from somebody.
Nah, it can't be right.
Somebody corny.
That's a Mike Bennett original, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, Zach, your hot take feeds into this, but if we're looking optimistically into the second half for Ohio State, what is it that you think would make you feel better on Saturday? That you actually believe you're going to see?
That I actually believe I'm going to see?
Yeah.
Actually believe I'm going to see. I do think Ohio State's going to get after Dylan Raiola from Nebraska's quarterback. The issue is I think they're going to bring more stunts and pressure from the second level. I think you're going to see more linebacker blitzes. Sonny Styles is a great blitzer.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see them bring a lot of pressure with Sonny, and he kind of be that extra guy. He is an athletic guy, longer guy. I think you are going to see that. Now, how much? I don't know. I definitely think Jim Knowles is going to turn up the pressure because that's been discussed. If we can't get pressure with our front four, we have to bring more than that. And so I think that's going to get dialed up more than what it has been.
Yeah, Ryan Day mentioned Arvell Reese in that possibility as well on Wednesday. I mean, these guys are just freakishly athletic.
Here's the thing. You've got some great linebackers that, from depth, are super fast, long, athletic. Like, they can do a lot of things. It's not like you got 44 who's barely 5'11", running a 5 flat 40 coming from depth.
But you had heart, damn it.
Those guys.
You would take people's souls, though.
Listen, those guys are so.
That's why he was special.
Arvell Reese and Sonny are so athletically gifted, and I think they can do so many different things with them that's the difference that we're going to see.
Mike, it sounds like you are still waiting for more from Will Howard.
I am. I think he is what he is. I think he's good enough to let the rest of the team shine. I don't think he's as good as I thought he would be, but I think he's good enough. It's just I hear people gassing him up, and I don't think he is what people are saying he is. But I think he's better than the quarterback we had last year, and I think he is a good enough quarterback to get us across the finish line. And what I'm trying to see in this Nebraska game is what I talk about every week, is I want to see the fire in the eyes. I want to see the hunger. I want to see somebody who their entire view of themselves is tied up in football. I get it. You need to be a well-rounded individual. I'm telling you, I love that about Ohio or about Ryan Day, is that these guys are all well-rounded individuals.
I mean, you were killing people, but you're about to be a lawyer. You're a well-rounded human being.
You know
that's
who
for
has
after
that,
football.
You know who
You
has
know what I'm saying?
you know who has that fire and passion? And
Who?
He wears number 18 and plays quarterback for Ohio State.
Will Howard.
And he serves his role, and so it needs to bleed into everybody else. I need to see somebody cussing out their teammates on the sideline.
Hold on, I've got a question. Who would you? I think I know your answer. Who would you rather have, Will Howard or JT Barrett?
JT. I like JT
Okay.
a lot. I don't think Will Howard has a better arm than JT. I think that Will Howard has a great personality when it comes to, he wants it. I love that he wants it. I love that he loves Ohio State. I love that he is ready for the big moments. That doesn't mean all of a sudden he's C.J. Stroud. So I'm not going to trash the guy.
Yeah, I think that's an unfair
just-
comparison.
It's the comparison. That's just
The standard is the
I'm
standard.
told the standard is the standard.
yeah.
Woo! The
So-
standard CJ Stroud moving forward. Oh my
But that's
God.
what I'm. But
Yeah, we're in
is it
trouble.
not though? He's not Braxton. He's not Dwayne. He's a good quarterback.
I would
but he's-
argue. I would argue. I think he's a lot more accurate than Braxton was.
Braxton was such a
Athletically gifted.
He was such an underappreciated
Third
passer of the
interception
ball.
by Kyle
He was
McCord.
so electric when it came to
Yeesh.
running the ball.
No.
But
Listen,
he
I
was
completely
underappreciated.
second pick six.
Second pick six.
Yeah.
And listen, Mike, I completely agree with you. Braxton, I have never seen in college football, Division I college football, a player at Ohio State's caliber, look as stupid as they did going against Braxton Miller in practice. Like, Braxton, in literally a square box, can make people fall flat on their face, and I've seen it. I get it. But I think you look at the total package of what a quarterback can do, I think Will Howard's better than Braxton from the standpoint of Braxton was such a
think it's
good
close.
running quarterback.
I
don't
threw
think
this
it's close.
comparison at Zach, so Zach knows where I stand on this. Let me throw it at you, Mike. I think my expectation for Will Howard was that he would be a combination of Cardale Jones and JT Barrett. Maybe he does not have Cardale's arm strength.
He doesn't.
Maybe he doesn't have JT's pure, I don't know, toughness, speed, Minnesota touchdown run, taking forever, whatever. I don't know. I thought if you put together their best traits, that would be what Will Howard could be for Ohio State, and I think he has lived up to that. Which you also said that's good enough. You think what you've seen is good enough to get them to the finish line.
He doesn't have a deep ball. I don't think he's particularly accurate. I think he is a good college football quarterback. Like I said, I'm not here to put down Will Howard. It's just everybody's gassing him up. I've watched him play. I've watched him play too. You know, I watch those games. I see the ducks that he throws. I see him throw it up to these just unbelievable receivers who go and get it. I haven't seen him drop it over his shoulder. I haven't seen him hit a back shoulder in stride. I haven't seen him hit a 50-yard into the basket. Like, he's good. He's good. We have the receivers to make it so that he doesn't need to be Tom Brady. He doesn't need to be C.J. Stroud. I think he can run just as well as JT can run. I don't think we've utilized it that much yet.
No,
So
I agree.
I think he's serviceable. I definitely think he's better than what we had last year. And I think the mental component that you need in a quarterback and the personality component that you need in a quarterback is there. I think the rest of the team needs to get themselves together and do their part so that we don't need to be having conversations about Will Howard.
That's why I love this show. We're all allowed different opinions up here. We don't talk in unison.
There's no right or wrong.
No, correct. I get it.
I mean, we're trying to all be right, but that's not going to be perfect because I thought that Ohio State was going to beat Oregon by 28. I did too. I was wrong by 29 points on that one. So
yeah.
What do you need to see on Saturday, Bro?
I don't know.
C.J. Stroud.
That'd be good. I want to be clear. Will Howard is so much better as a passer than I thought he would be. That maybe my expectations for him coming into the season were.
Did you watch him before he was at Ohio State?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't. So I didn't know what
He's
he
been
was
a much
coming
better
from.
passer through 6 games.
Mike Bennett. It would be like comparing prior to Ohio State, Joe Bowserman, now at Ohio State, Ohio
come
State.
on.
So Berm, that might be why we have difference of
Right? Is that a good
I'm
comparison?
also watching.
I don't
him-
even want to think about it.
I'm watching him every week complete like his first 14 passes every single week, and make throws like the one to Emeka Ibuka down the sideline in the Oregon game where it's like, wow, that's a hell of a throw. Like my expectation for him was like JT Barrett. I think he's a way better passer than JT Barrett.
We
and I love JT.
We talked about at the beginning of the year. We said the best comparison for Will Howard was JT Barrett, and we all thought he was a better JT Barrett, and that's why this team was going to be so good. And I would agree. I think he's actually lived up better. Like, I think he separated himself even from JT Barrett, and I love JT.
Yeah. Maybe
like,
I just
I
have
love
too many
JT.
personal feelings around.
It's
Maybe.
possible.
But you're not. I mean, your opinion's your opinion. I think I had been clouded by watching him play in the Kansas State offense, where his best receiver was his
His
fullback.
tight end, his fullback.
Who?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Hey, that's great. I'm just saying. If you
That's
were,
where talent goes.
if you were the best receiver on the 20,
I actually think he wore number 44 too.
I think he still does for the Ravens or whoever, or the Commanders, whoever he plays for now. But I just think
I think Zach's talking about himself.
Oh,
No. I was talking the Kansas State.
Ben Sinnott. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought Will's been great. That's not the point. Saturday, I don't know exactly where this team's going with the running game moving forward because of the changes we already talked about. You lose Josh Simmons, so you lose your starting left tackle. You lose Will Kazmarek, who's probably your best blocker at tight end, and your flex blocker. I really like Bennett Christian, and I think he's capable of filling in that spot. I don't know moving forward because I'm going to err and leaning towards my own opinion here, but I think that Will Howard has impressed and surprised the Ohio State coaches throwing the ball enough that they're actually starting to turn the offense into a more traditional Ryan Day offense, which is let's throw the ball first and use that to set up the run, as opposed to what we thought heading into the season, which was use the run to set up the pass. So I just don't know where the run game is going. Obviously, there was the injury with Quinshon Judkins in his hand. That had a procedure. Ryan Day said he's fine, no big deal. But, when you're a running back, if you got something going on with your hand, even a week off, it's gonna feel fine now. First time you get hit into a helmet on Saturday, how does that feel? So we'll see how that unfolds. But what I want to see is Ohio State come out and run the football, and because I think Nebraska, who Dylan Raiola had a really good first 3 weeks of the year for the Cornhuskers, and all highly touted stuff. He's one touchdown and 5 interceptions in his last 3 games. They're struggling big time offensively. They're going to try to come out and run the ball against Ohio State, even though last week Nebraska's leading rusher against Indiana was their backup quarterback.
I got news for Nebraska. If they try to run the football in Ohio State, they will not.
Right, so I think this game is going to come out, and both sides are going to try to play a little bully ball early. And I just want to see Ohio State with Zen Mahalski out there, with Bennett Christian replacing Will Kazmarek. I just want to see the Buckeyes put a foot up someone's ass a little bit and go up there and say.
That's all I've been asking for, man.
But I think you have to do that with the run game first.
You have to.
And
that's where you go will against will.
Yeah. Well, Will Howard versus whatever Will they have on their team.
Whoever he is, I don't know.
I'm sure they got a Will over there.
It's probably not as good as Will Howard.
I think this goes back to what Zach was talking about in the first half. Like, Ohio State's defense needs to force turnovers. They need to get takeaways.
They need to plant Dylan Raiola about 25 times. And even when they don't get there, take 3 steps and still hit them.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, dirty plays.
Just go yell in his face or something.
Penalties.
Wild card, shakeability.
Sometimes a penalty is a good investment.
Sometimes it is.
A true freshman quarterback that was committed to Ohio State, that his recruitment is probably way
more interesting than people know?
Yeah, way dirty. I was going to use the word dirtier.
Okay.
Yeah, way dirtier than people know. I think at that point, you need to send the message early, like,
we remember?
Yeah.
The North remembers?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do agree that sacks are not going to be the only way to measure success for Ohio State's defensive line or even the way that this game plays out. I do think winning the turnover battle is imperative. That's not breaking new ground in talking about football, but that's probably going to come if you pressure the quarterback more, if you force him in decisions. I do think Denzel Burke is a much better corner than he looked like 2 weeks ago. Was that his great game? Great game? Absolutely not. 8 attempts on him and 8 completions. That can't happen. But, if Dylan Gabriel had to get the football out quicker, would those throws down the field have happened? I suspect probably not. So they all have to work together. You guys said it. You said 1/11th. You've talked about complete effort from front to back. It doesn't have to just be sacks, but forcing turnovers.
But they would help.
They will help.
To your point, I think what you're saying and what I say is hand in hand when we talk about turnovers. Zach, when I think about turnovers, the first thing I think is violence. Because people think, okay, if you do your job, then hopefully you're in position and you know your assignment. But if you just hit the crap out of somebody, they might drop the ball. If you catch a receiver when they were going up for a pass and you catch them in the ribs, the next one, they might pull their hands back and you get an interception opportunity. I think people really underestimate the importance of stuff outside of simply, Denzel Burke should have.
The playbook.
The playbook, it's very important. You got to put yourself in position to make the plays. But if the receivers are fearful, if the running back is fearful, if you're tackling a running back and you're punching as hard as you can at his hands, which is what I think happened to Judkins, he probably broke his hand when they punched it out. Those are the things that change games.
Yeah, I'll tell you what changes games, okay? Last weekend, watching Georgia going to Texas, who I think there would be, recruiting, right? You know how to scout people a little bit. People say Texas probably has the best offensive line in the country, especially with Kelvin Banks and some of those guys. In the first half, Georgia has 5 sacks and I think 8 knockdowns of the quarterback, right? That's in the first half. Yeah. We haven't had that in the last 4 defeats. Yeah.
Zach,
I think
what does
5
that do
defeats.
when offense is mental?
No. So that's my point, right? You want to talk about breaking someone's will. If you are the away team and you go in there and you get after the quarterback, there's memes all over the internet of Arch Manning and
Eli?
Arch Manning,
Quinn
not
Ewers.
Arch, and Quinn Ewers sitting side by side, almost
Spitting
like
up blood.
No, like looking like deer in headlights, right before halftime. Like that's what does it.
Yes.
Instead, you go out to Oregon and don't really dominate. Like you're talking about changing the game.
Yes.
That does it.
Yep.
So I have a feeling that the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems, whatever it takes, player or unit to watch on Saturday, we probably would all say the exact same group.
Yeah, so you can't name them.
So
they're off limits.
Let's take the defensive line out of the mix here. Or Mike, you can talk about it if you want. That's your spot.
No, you're not allowed.
Even if I do talk about it, I'll talk about another one too.
Okay. What do you got?
So The defensive line.
Oh,
No, it's the same
You
old
got me.
story for the last however many
Little rope-a-dope.
years or how many
Yeah.
we need to see pressures. I want to see them. I think they all up until Oregon. I thought they did a really good job. I thought they were moving the line of scrimmage. They were doing a good job. So honestly, like they just need to do what they were doing. It might have been just a hiccup in the schedule.
Yeah, before we had this weekend kickoff before Iowa, you were really impressed with what
I
they
loved
were doing.
what I was seeing.
They're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel or Dylan Gabriel, who's his name? Peter Gabriel?
No,
Sledgehammer?
that's somebody else. Dylan Gabriel plays quarterback for Oregon.
He was just smarter and not falling into they were still in the same rush lanes. He was just able to step up and throw the ball because he's actually a good quarterback. And so when you play a good quarterback, things change, right?
Well, as a defensive lineman, you got to know who you're playing. Everybody has tendencies.
Right.
So if he
Right.
steps up, you need to watch it on film, and you need to not run past the ball. You need to pressure. You need to do folds. You need to do games. There are ways to counter that. So they need to adjust. They need to do better. If I can't choose the D-line, who am I going to choose? The O-line.
O-line.
Because it's one in the trenches. So I want to see the O-line move the line of scrimmage. We did not look good in the rush game against Oregon. We need to reestablish that. I know it's against Nebraska. I know they're not Oregon. I don't care. That means we need to establish it. We need to make sure people understand that Ohio State's O-line means business, and I need to see that nastiness. I know when I was there, we had some grimy dudes.
Slobs.
Your brother. We had some guys who were
Your brother's disgusting.
hey, on that field,
So mean.
on that field, Jacoby, people remember Jacoby. Jacoby would work his butt off. He was always pushing somebody, doing something.
Nasty.
Like, that's what you need. That's what you have to have
just
as
the
an
guy
O-line.
that gets underneath your skin.
You're not gonna
Yes,
get an
that's
argument
That's
from
who he
me.
was.
If your center is not the most annoying person on that field at any given time, they're not doing their job. So I
Seth
need to
McLaughlin
see,
has had a little bit of that.
Yeah, no,
You have to
he's
have it.
nasty.
you
He's
have
nasty.
to have it. So I want to see that O-line be that. I don't want to see, just positioning. I want them to give a little push after the play, that kind of thing. I want them to be frustrated.
Don't shower.
Don't if that's what it takes. If that's what it takes, Austin.
How many times have I
That's what I
said
needed.
that this offensive line needs guys who are dirty and smell worse? This team smells too good. They're all
That's the NIL
They
money.
all smell
It's an NIL
unbelievably
Yeah,
good.
they have money to buy soap.
They all smell so good.
They care now.
They get haircuts. They
Yeah.
they shower.
Yeah.
Beautiful
soap.
coiffed.
It's got to
Yeah,
be. What do
coiffed.
they call them? Maybe this was like a high school team. Call themselves the Pig Pen.
Yeah.
That's the kind of O
We
line
need
you
the
need.
slobs. We missed. We had the slobs.
Bring back the slobs.
They were getting soap. We couldn't even get bagel with cream
It's
cheese.
a shame.
No. Should
Schmear.
considered a meal.
That's what made you tough, Zach.
No peanut butter.
Can't have it.
Seriously, you got a plain bagel, then it's a snack.
So he's picking the offensive line,
Yeah.
and obviously the defensive line because we're all going to say the defensive line. So
Yeah.
what's the
Zach
unit?
likes to go last.
Yeah,
so
doesn't
it's
matter.
not. It's not my turn.
It's your turn now.
no, you're next, Berm.
Oh, the safeties because
I should have gone next.
because
Yeah.
Lathan Ransom's not going to play on Saturday, and so
you really danced around it in the first
let's
half.
just
Okay, can we? I want to break some news. If Lathan Ransom is not playing,
He's
who-
not going to play on Saturday.
who's going to play?
we expect that Lorenzo Styles will start in his place in the next to Caleb Downs. Now, whether or not those two flip-flop around, and I don't even know the difference between the bandit and the adjuster and all that. If they flip,
Yeah.
then we'll see. I don't know that I would do that, but I also don't know how comfortable I am with Lorenzo Styles playing the role that Lathan Ransom has played, where he's very in the box and almost your fourth linebacker at times or third linebacker with this defense. So safety play is going to be pivotal. Nebraska does not have the weapons to really beat you downfield, but they do have a really good pair of tight ends. Thomas Fedone, who Ohio State recruited, is their main guy. He has 6 catches for 95 yards against Indiana. Like, he's the guy that Raiola is going to use as the security blanket. So Lorenzo Styles or whoever is back there is going to be put into a position where they have to really man up a really good 6'6", 250-pound tight end. So that's where, like, I'm a little skeptical. I think I would probably put Jalen McClain back there or even Jordan Hancock as opposed to Lorenzo Styles. But I don't get to make those decisions. Yeah. So I think it's going to be an interesting first quarter for who I think we all expect will be Lorenzo Styles.
Yeah. I think maybe there's a world where in a world where Lathan Ransom doesn't play. Maybe you try both early on and you see if Jalen McClain is ready for that opportunity. And if not, you know that you can pivot if you need to with Lorenzo Styles and or Jordan Hancock or perhaps Malik Hartford. I think it felt to me, Zach, like on Wednesday night that Ryan Day was setting it up for Lorenzo Styles to start at safety. And I think that going into the week, I would have thought, well, I don't know. Jordan Hancock seems like a more seamless transition, but if you're taking him from nickel, are you quite as sure what the drop-off would be between Jordan Hancock to Lorenzo Styles at that position? Are you making yourself worse at 2 spots? I don't know the answer. I think there may have to be some experimentation with that on Saturday.
Yeah, I actually think the world of Lorenzo Styles. Went to my high school, watched him in high school.
What do you know about Pickering?
Yeah, I know, right? I thought he was going to be an unbelievable DB. I know he wanted to play wide receiver, which is why he went to Notre Dame, and I'm sure he's kicking himself now. I think the world of him. Now, in my world, what I would love to see, even though I love Lorenzo Styles, I would love to see them put Jordan Hancock at safety, move IGB into the slot, and bring Jermaine Matthews in. Yeah. I also would just love to see IGB's tenacity, bring him inside the box a little bit more. The dude can tackle. The dude's got edge. Let him play in that slot, and then let Jordan Hancock roam, which we've seen. We've seen Jordan Hancock take over games the last year. So that's just me being selfish of like what I think would be great. But to your point, you need to experiment to see what happens, because I think there's a chance Lathan Ransom's not playing at Penn State, and
let's just hypothetically say that this could last 3 or 4 weeks.
Correct. If it lasts that long, you need to experiment enough in the Nebraska game that you are confident going into a hostile environment at Penn State that you don't need to rotate there. You've got your guys in place, and you're going out to put on a show.
Is that your position then? You picking safety?
No.
We're just all talking. I was talking safety.
We're just. Is it my turn?
So we're just co-opting safety.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're tag teaming it.
I'm picking 2. Okay.
Let's go.
So my first was going to be Caleb Downs, and I know I've ragged on the defensive line, and I apologize, guys, if I'm a little too aggressive. So I apologize from that standpoint.
There. Sun's getting real low.
If there is one guy, to step up on this defense to be like, hey, listen, I realize we're not playing up to a standard. I'm going to change the football game. Yeah. It's Caleb Downs. Mm-hmm. Like, Caleb Downs is the guy that can be a game-changing type of player, and I see him stepping up to the occasion. This is his first, loss at Ohio State. Guess what? He sees the way the city of Columbus takes a loss, Buckeye Nation takes a loss. I see him stepping up and just absolutely taking over the defense, and this is his coming out game. Now, on the flip side, I know Mike Bennett's hating on my guy Will Howard. Berms and I guy Will Howard. I think after Saturday against Oregon, Will Howard's on a upward climb as fast as this coaching staff will let him go. And what I say by that is, you guys already touched on it. The entire season is built around, hey, let's run the football to open up the pass. I think the offensive coaches are way more encouraged of where maybe they were at the beginning of the year of Will Howard's passing capabilities, of what he can do through the air, especially now that they've seen what Jeremiah Smith can do the first 6 games of the year as well, with Emeka Buka, Carnell Tate. I think they were going to take the top off this offense. They were going to say, hey, listen, we're going more to a traditional Ryan Day offense as you talked about. We are going to throw the hell out of this football. Long, mid, short, whatever it might be, we are going to go and attack people by the air and then turn around and run the football. I do want to see Ohio State run the football and establish that, especially with the new O-line. But I would also argue that, guess what? It's easier for those guys to pass pro in certain situations than it is to combo block up to the next level, especially if you don't have as many game reps, right? Because in pass pro, a lot of times you got a little trade-off, but it's a lot of one-on-one blocks. I can see those guys saying, hey, listen, let's go out and just freaking throw the deep ball.
If Ohio State wins a national championship, like you said earlier, you think they still can. The Will Howard reaction post-Oregon should be viewed in the similar way that Florida fans viewed Tim Tebow after the loss to Ole Miss or Mississippi State or whoever in 2008 or 9, whatever year that was.
This is where you lose.
It was memorable for you, obviously.
Yeah, it was super. You weren't there, and maybe it's because we were in a tent outside in Eugene, and it was weird, and people weren't watching it because it was midnight, and we were in a tent. But Will Howard, the way he owned that loss, when he's like the last guy who should have been owning that loss, was really something we haven't seen since JT. And that's why, like, I'm way more encouraged by Will Howard now, even after the loss, than I was, and I was pretty high on him before that game. But
yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off what Zach said about Caleb, because I haven't talked about him much. You guys are excited about Will. I'm excited about Will. I think Caleb is probably one of my favorite players this season.
Oh yeah,
you watched the Oregon game. He was amazing. He was incredible. I think he's young, so I think it might be a little early to say something like this, and I don't know what the locker room looks like, but he seems like he has the potential to be the leadership potential to be like Christian Bryant, while he has the talent to be one of the best safeties Ohio State's ever seen.
He's 100% the defensive.
He's a game changer.
That's why I brought that up, because especially Will Howard and Caleb Downs, both transfer guys though,
and they're leaders now.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, you kind of fall into place, especially nowadays with the way college football is. And Mike knows this, being in a locker room. Like, even though you're a veteran guy or an All-American player, like, you come in there, you don't want to ruffle many feathers,
you
right?
You
earn your way. Well, guess what? Ohio State lost the game. Yeah. Now those guys would be like, well, guess what? We're all on an even playing field. Let's go. And I see both of those guys being like, okay, we lost. Team, we're down low.
Yeah.
Those two guys are going to step up, and they'll be the leaders on defense and offense.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. I'll throw one more in there because Will Kazmarek is hurt as well. So Bennett Christian, watching him, who needs to step up, Bryant Heating Cooling Systems, whatever it takes. You got to have another tight end out there who can do the dirty work blocking, who can maybe do some things in the middle of the field as a receiving threat. It's a big game for him, big game on Saturday against Nebraska. What's the final score going to be, Mike Bennett?
A lot to a little.
Okay.
I'll say 54 to – I don't even know if they'll get a touchdown,
Woo,
man.
He's going
to
do
6.
it. Say it.
To 6.
54 to 6.
Oh. I don't – what, didn't Indiana just beat them to that?
They beat them 56 to 7.
You know, that'd be sad if we couldn't outdo them. That'd be sad.
That's a tough standard. I'm not really sure how that happened.
Hard to live up to the IU standard.
Well,
they really
they scored 51 points against you in 2012.
Not 51.
Not 51.
How many was it? 49?
Something
in the
like
40s.
In the 40s.
Did they
We
lose
didn't
the
lose,
game?
though.
No, they won 52-49.
It was unfair.
I think Zach had like 11 tackles.
I did. I was leading tackler, but it was unfair. They went into 2-minute offense and like 5 minutes left to go in the third quarter.
Got an onside kick.
You can't go 2 minutes. There's not 2 minutes left on the clock.
The rules
Are
say.
there no rules?
That's cheating.
No huddle offense? What do you mean?
What's your score prediction?
No, you didn't.
He goes last. Don't you know the rules?
I've given it 3 times this week
Bird
already.
keeps trying.
What is it? Give the same one.
trying.
41 to 7.
41 to 7.
That's fair.
Okay.
The line is 25.5. The total is 48 or 47.5.
I love how you've become obsessed with gambling.
41-7.
And still not any better at it.
It's 25 and a half.
Fair
Yeah, you said it's 25 and a half.
Yeah, they're going to cover.
Yeah.
And they're going to and
the over's going to hit?
I think the over under is 47.5.
That means it would
So yeah, they go over.
yeah,
by
go
half.
It'd go over. Yeah.
What's your score prediction?
Zach, what do you got?
My score prediction is going to be 45 to 24.
45-24.
Wow, he's out on the defense.
45-24.
24.
Seems like Zach
very
wants to
possible,
see
too.
a little more.
I mean, they
Super
have
Bowl. It's
Patrick Mahomes.
Nebraska
Gonna put
cosplay Patrick Mahomes.
Nebraska's offense in the last 3 weeks has been abysmal. So if
Not
Ohio
against
State
us,
goes out
baby.
and gives up 24 on Saturday, there's going to be a lot of pissed off people at Ohio Stadium.
Do you think Dylan
hold on, is my hot take going to happen or not happen?
You think it's not going to happen? That's what we're going to.
I don't think it.
do they sell like does the Patrick Mahomes? Can you go get that at, like Spirit Halloween?
No,
is that
you
where
want to
Dylan Raiola shop?
Yeah, I'm not a Dylan. Wait. No comment. Stop. Shut that down. I'm gonna say something I'm gonna regret.
I thought I could maybe get you going.
No, I know.
Ohio State's going to win this game 48-13. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I like it.
Time to see
now, if my hot take happens, 45-6.
Okay. Well, we're going to find out. Thank goodness. Ohio State homecoming game Saturday, 10-year reunion for the national champions. Mike's ready for it. He's already celebrating.
Can I have that, Rick?
Okay.
I don't think you can have
Gotta
that.
earn it. Will versus Will.
Thanks to Fairway Columbus for having us back out here again for Bryant Heating Cooling Systems Weekend Kickoff. There's some folks here from South Carolina, some folks here from New Jersey. Thanks to everyone who came out and wanted to listen to us talk about Ohio State. And thanks for you watching at home on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcast platforms, whatever you use. We appreciate all of you. Have a great weekend. Enjoy Ohio State, Nebraska. For Mike Bennett, Zach Boren, Jeremy Birmingham, I'm Austin Ward. We'll see you next time.